Alright, what's going on everyone? Kirk here for MotoGear TV. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. And as y'all can see from the title of the video, today we're going to be doing probably one of the most important upgrades you can do to your performance vehicle. And that's going to be refreshing and upgrading some of the components on our brakes. Now, for most owners, I think this is sometimes an oversight. You know, we get so caught up in modifying everything else from the engine to the looks of the car. The brakes are probably one of the most overlooked mods you can do, but I think it's probably one of the most important. Now, it's one thing just to go fast, but you have to be able to stop, and for me that's a very important factor, especially with my builds. I don't want to only make my car fast, but I want to be able to make it stop as well. And thankfully enough, the M brakes that come on the M2 are really nice. They do provide really good pedal feel, really good stopping power, but I think like all parts on your car, there is room for improvement, and that's why today we're going to be doing a little refresh on the brake system, doing every single component except for the rotors, which is going to be pretty much the brake lines, the brake fluid, and also brake pads. Now, I didn't opt to do the rotors just yet. My rotors are in pretty good condition so far, so maybe later down the line that can be a consideration, but for right now I think this is pretty much all you're really going to need. Just to give you guys a quick rundown of what I'm going to be using today, we have a set of StopTech stainless steel braided lines. Now, one of the main benefits of running these stainless lines over stock ones is that the stock rubber lines tend to expand over harsh braking situations. These really don't. And with that, it gives you a more precise pedal feel and also a shorter stopping distance. Next up, we're going to also be changing out the brake fluid. Now, I chose to go with this one. This is the ATE Type 200. Really good reviews I saw online. It does have a pretty good boiling temperature, as you guys can see, which as a result will basically allow you to run the car a little bit harder. I think for those of you who have highly modified cars, going with a stronger brake fluid is always recommended. Next up, this is our brake fluid tester. Now, this is going to pretty much just check out the stock brake fluid just to see what's going on as far as the quality of it. Now, typically there might be instances where water might get into your brake fluid system. This is very unsafe. You don't want to be in a situation where your brake fluid is mixed with water, so this basically tests it to make sure that it's okay. Now, the recommended range is supposed to be under 2%. Before we go ahead and change it, I just want to at least check what the quality of ours is right now. And next up, we have our brake pads. Now, I chose to go with the Hawk HPS Street 50 pads. Saw some really good reviews about this online as well. Really good initial bite, low noise, and also one of the main benefits that I chose this is that it has a lower brake dust output than the stock pads. As you guys should know, BMW cars, especially the M cars, they give off a lot of brake dust, especially when under any type of braking situation. You could literally wash your car right now and in 5 minutes later, the brake dust comes up just from driving down the street. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So this is going to be a very good upgrade, improved performance, better dust retention, and overall improved stopping power. And lastly on the list, this is going to be a very useful component in doing the whole process. Now, this is going to be our power bleeder. I got this one from ECS. This is a motive power bleeder. Pretty much this is going to allow us to keep constant brake pressure while we're bleeding the brakes without us having to press the brake pedal, and just will make the installation just that much easier. Okay, so now that you guys have seen pretty much the full rundown of everything we're going to be doing today, let's go ahead, get the car set up, and get this installation started. Alright, before we get started, just wanted to show you guys the M4 seats that I have in the M2. If you guys haven't considered doing this, it's definitely very recommended. It really improves the overall driving experience while seated inside the car. Definitely suggest doing it if you have an OG M2. Just to also give you guys a quick glimpse of what the engine bay currently looks like. Now, to get this whole thing started, we're going to go ahead and jack up the car, get the wheels off, and in order for us to get to the brake reservoir, we're going to have to take off this plastic trim piece. The reservoir is located directly underneath this and should give us access to do everything necessary for the brake fluid flush. Okay, so some other noteworthy tools that we're going to need for this process. We're going to need a couple of wrenches, 17 and also an 11. Also have this brake bleeder kit. This is basically going to help us to bleed out some of the old brake fluid and put it into this little reservoir bottle. We are going to need this pin punch. This is going to be to remove the pin that's holding the brake pads into place on the caliper. Also some brake cleaner, and also some WD-40 in case we need to lubricate some of the nuts holding the brake lines in place. And lastly, you're going to need a pair of pliers because there's going to be a retaining clip that's going to hold one of the lines in place. Alright, so just want to show you guys what the brake system looks like right now. These are my rotors. There is a little lip on the top, but not too much. Just to show you guys what the brake pads look like as well. Still have a little bit of life left in it, but definitely due for a change. And this is hopefully again going to reduce all of the brake dust and still improve some of the stopping power that we need. And this is going to come in especially handy because we do have a few events coming up that we're going to require us to have better brakes. A little bit more on that in the future. Now I think the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is swap out the old brake pads, put in the new ones, and also do the lines. For those of you who are curious in when to change your rotors, definitely want to do so if you see any type of warping or if this lip on the edge of it becomes much bigger. Now there is a minimum requirement for how thin these should be. If you guys can't see it very properly, I'll put it up on the screen right now just so you guys have an idea, especially for these. And just so you guys know, these brakes are shared with the M3 and M4 as well. Thankfully the M2 did come with a very large brake setup. So we got the first pin out from the caliper. Looks to be in pretty good shape. Gonna take out the next one and we'll keep it going. Alright, cool. So we managed to get out both pins from the caliper. Next we have to remove the retaining clip on the back and then we can remove the brake pads. Alright, and there goes the retaining clip, and that was actually held in by the two pins. Next step we're gonna have to do is to compress the piston that's holding the brake pads into place and then slide the old pads out. Alright, as you guys can see, these are the old pads that were in the car, Techstar. From the looks of it, I honestly think these are the original pads that came with the car. Definitely due for upgrade right now. So just gonna toss these ones to the side and then put the new ones in. Before we go ahead and put in the new brake pad, just wanted to show you guys a difference that we noticed with the old one. So if you will see on the ends of this, there are some, I guess, brake pad weights that came on the stock ones. The new ones don't have that. Now I was kind of worried for a quick second. I thought these were the wrong ones, but in actuality we did some research and this is how it's actually supposed to come. The caliper pins are supposed to go through the secondary hole right there, and then you're going to have the retaining bracket that's going to hold everything into place. So not to worry, every manufacturer has their different designs. I will note that the rear pads do have these weights attached to it, so that's the only difference that I noticed. Okay, so the first set of brake pads are installed. Next up, time for the lines. Alright, so just so you guys know, to remove the stock lines, there's going to be a 11mm locking nut that's going to hold this into place. I'm going to unscrew the top, pull this down. There's going to be, in addition to that, a small retaining clip in the center holding the line into place. And then right on the back, you guys can't see it, but this is going to be the end of the line. It's going to also be held in. Wait, let's see if I can show you. Yeah, so you're going to have the end of the line that's going right here. Again, this is going to also be screwed off. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right there. One other thing to note, when you do remove the line, there is going to be brake fluid coming out, so you're going to want to make sure you at least have a pan to catch some of the drippage. Okay, so we're making good progress. We just finished up the rear left side of the car, and it ended up going actually much smoother and quicker than the front did. So install the rear pads, install the rear stainless steel lines. Next up, we're going to go to the right side of the car, do the same exact thing, and then go ahead and flush the brake system. We figured out a pretty good flow on this side, so I think the next side is going to move much faster. Alright, now we've arrived at the final and most important step in the brake service process, and that's going to be flushing and bleeding the brake system. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to be using the Motive Power Bleeder. It's a pretty simple tool to use. It basically pressurizes the system to make sure that you get a constant flow, and that way when we're bleeding the brakes, we'll have constant pressure throughout without having to pump the brake pedal. First thing we're going to have to do is to make sure that the system is pressurized properly. To do so, obviously make sure that everything is connected. Remove the brake fluid reservoir cap. Okay, so now that we check that the system is holding pressure, we're going to go ahead and add the new brake fluid to the power bleeder, seal the system back up, pressurize it to 15 psi, and then go ahead and start the bleeding process. Alright, so we're back again. This is day 2. Got a pretty late night last night. Only got the rear passenger side done. So right now we're just gonna go ahead and finish up the other 3 sides. This honestly took a lot longer than we expected. So if you guys are doing this on your own or with a friend, please make sure you allot at least 2 days to get it done. Alright, so it's been a few days since we did the brake service. Just wanted to give you guys, what my initial thoughts are since doing it. I've been able to take it around, just on the streets, on the highway a little bit. What I noticed the most about it, especially when applying the brake, is that it's much more smoother and more consistent than the stock brakes were. For the stock brakes, I noticed that the grab would be very strong initially, but it would taper off. And for these brakes, it definitely feels a lot smoother. You notice that the grab is a little bit more consistent the more and more I press the brake. And for me, that's a little bit better. I personally prefer that rather than just the big strong initial grab. And that's kind of what I really wanted out of these brakes. You know, obviously this is not going to replace a big brake kit, but I do want the benefits of having additional stopping power, and I think this definitely gives the results that I was looking for. Overall, I would recommend doing this. I mean, even if you're not going to be doing a full brake setup with rotors and everything, at least making sure that you're changing your pads to a more stronger setup, at least making sure that the fluid is changed during every brake service cycle. And if you want to go the step further, definitely do the lines. I'm going to just punch it a little bit and show you guys what it feels like to slow down. Again, much smoother than stock ones. Yeah, overall for me, no complaints. Really recommend. You know, obviously there are a lot of different brands that you can choose from, but for me personally, I just decided to go with Hawk pads just as a test, and trust me guys, they passed the test. Now, as usual, I am going to be leaving the links for all of these products down below in the description. If you guys are considering doing this 2-year M2, M3, M4, let me know exactly what you guys went with as far as a setup. Cost wise, it's not going to break the bank, I don't think. You know, everything was pretty much very affordable, including the liquid, the lines, and the brake pads. And again, if you guys are going to be adding power to your car, why not make sure that the brakes are good as well? It just makes sense, right? Alright, so I think I'm going to wrap this video up for right now. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you leave a thumbs up, leave some comments down below, and if you enjoy the content, why not subscribe? Guys, we're almost at 10k subscribers. You know, this really means a lot to us, the amount of support we've been having over the last few months. Right after this, we're going to be doing the ultimate test. We're going to be taking the car to do an autocross event in Daytona Beach. So if you guys are looking forward to that, make sure you let us know in the comments. Stay tuned for the next episode, and until then guys, we're gone.